Hello Uganda, good evening and welcome to the show On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. Tonight, the members of the Central Executive Committee of the NRM are still in a meeting at State House Entebbe as they try to vet the different contenders who are running for the different positions on the Central Executive Committee of the NRM. We are waiting to see what the results that will be. Also, the tribunal that was going through the petitions that arose from the disputed primaries is done with its work, though most of the judgments have not yet been given. So tonight my guest is the head of communications and publicity at the NRM, the Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo. Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, thank you so much for having honored our invitation. It's not very common when you come, in dazzling in yellow in the NRM paraphernalia. You look so different and so sharp in your yellow color.
Absolutely, yes, because I've just run out of a meeting purely because I wanted to respect the request in order to have an interaction with the audience on the other side. But I just came out of a Central Executive Committee meeting, which is still continuing at the State House in Entebbe. And hopefully the meeting may go on until morning, because there was still a lot that had to be done. And the discussions are wide, varied, and deep. We believe that by morning tomorrow, the Secretary General should be able to release a statement about the proceedings of the Central Executive Committee and what has been decided.
Wait a moment. You started the meeting on Thursday morning and you are likely to end it on Friday morning next week.
Absolutely, yes, because...
What is this thing you talk about, you NRM people, that you meet from morning to night and the next day?
By the way, we didn't only start today. The second meeting started yesterday.
Yes, I know about that, yes.
It started yesterday. It has started today, and the meeting will spill over to tomorrow morning when the process is likely to end. This is part of the elective process that builds up to the national conference, which will be on the 27th and the 28th of this month. And part of that electoral process, there is a requirement in the NRM Constitution that members who qualify, who contest for certain executive position in the Central Executive Committee, they have to be vetted by the Central Executive Committee. And yesterday when the meeting sat, it sat under the chairmanship of Alhaji Moses Chigongo, and basically the members of the special interest groups had an opportunity to interact. Those ones, it's not a requirement for vetting, but SEC members ought to know who they are. So they just use that opportunity to come and introduce themselves, tell the members of the Central Executive Committee who they are and what exactly they do, and how long have they been in the party, what contribution have they done in the party, to find out whether in so doing there could be anything that is of intelligence that may force the members of the Central Executive Committee to disqualify anyone.
So we are privy, and the viewers are very privy, because we have you who has been in this meeting since yesterday, and it is still going in as we speak, and you think it will continue up to Friday morning. The same meeting at State House in Entebbe. And this is supposed to be a vetting session where they agree on who is going to be on the Central Executive Committee.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering how that is done, considering that some members of SEC are also facing people who are competing against the same positions. So if they're going to vet the incumbents, who are still in the running, do they get out?
When it comes to discussing in videos, what, for instance, the modus operandi this time has been, members who are vying, for instance, the position of the Central Executive Committee for Vice Chairperson Eastern Uganda, all of them are invited, and you come and talk about yourself in the hearing of everybody, even the opponents that you are contesting against. You talk about yourself in their hearing, they also talk about themselves, then all of you are excused. including the incumbents who are members of the Central Executive Committee, if there is a conflict of interest in any specific position. Then the members of the committee begin discussing individuals. What are the merits? What are the issues? Are there any criminal issues which could prevent the members being recommended to the next National Executive Council, which will be sitting after tomorrow? Is there any issues? Is there a possibility of asking some members to reconsider their position and say, would you want to run up to the delegates conference and you go for an election? Or would you consider if there are other options that you may want to come up with and serve the nation in other places other than really contesting for the position?
So I want to know, the Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, what is it this time around that we see the contestation for this position has been so stiff, the competition is so high that even sometimes it goes bananas. People start exchanging words that are not very nice.
First of all, the national resistance movement has been around for some time, and people have started seeing the added benefits of belonging to certain positions. Because the Central Executive Committee, when we had just gone to multipartyism, not many people appreciated that you have the role it has today. Right now, the Central Executive Committee designates the leadership of Parliament, it designates leadership of committees of Parliament, it can remove you, it can designate you out, it can make recommendations for appointment in government, it makes varied recommendations that progressively people have realized its importance and its strategic positioning, that they want to belong and associate there. But also the Central Executive Committee sits most often and is chaired by His Excellency the President and National Chairman of NRM. So many people who may have wanted to meet the President previously, or who may have issues they want to meet with the President, or who may want to use their vintage position in meeting the President to discuss issues affecting their local communities, work so hard to belong to that committee. Because not many committees that are chaired by the President sit as often as the Central Executive Committee.
So when you are a member of the Central Executive Committee, whatever you're going to do there, is it of beneficial to you as an individual or beneficial to the place where you come from? Because I do not think that they can cause changes in the constituency that they have come from. It looks like they are fighting to have a personal benefit.
The Bible says you love your neighbor like you love yourself. Why did you think the Bible said so? The Bible knows that individuals naturally are selfish. That in as much as you aspire or you work hard to serve others, that it is just human enough or divine that you'll begin with yourself in service. That is what that Bible says when he says...
No, leave the biblical analogy aside, because you do not have a budget, you don't have a vote that is going to say, let's say it's helping Fort Portal or helping Bunyole County. Maybe you just have a salary and that's it. So people seem to be really fighting for a personal benefit, as opposed if you're a member of Parliament, you're a member of the committee, probably you're talking about appropriation and you're going to debate, money can be used for a certain public good, but progressively as SEC member.
Progressively, people will realize how important the Central Executive Committee is, that even determining the priorities of government. Because even the election of a president, that is a delegated function on behalf of the party. That is why you become a presidential flag bearer of the party. So even the policies of government, appointments of government, strategic decisions of government, they are given direction by the political party. And now because of that, many people struggle to belong to that vintage position so that they can influence the decision, the direction, and the issues that the government is going to decide.
So we understand some members who are supposed to be in the Electoral College that will eventually vote who gets into the Central Executive Committee have actually been taken out, and some of them are in Dubai, as others are in Arusha, others are in Nairobi. The contenders are taking over the delegates.
I have read that on the social media. I don't know whether that is true or not, because those have been allegations by the social media. During the discussion of the Central Executive Committee, up to the time before I left, it's not a matter that had come up for consideration during the consideration.
But it's possible that an electoral college can be manipulated by an individual?
Absolutely, yes. I've been victim previously, because I've been the elections of the electoral college elections. I've seen it here for the youth members of parliament. I've seen it for the leadership of the NRM. By the time the National Resistance Movement decided that we should opt out of the electoral college and we go for direct elections by adult suffrage, it's because a lot of that had been witnessed.
So you as NRM, are you working hard to avoid the manipulation of the electoral college by those with deep pockets?
By the way, hiding of voters or any form of bribery or manipulation is a prohibited conduct. And if there is proof that something of that kind has happened and is brought to the authority, the Central Executive Committee may use its discretion to either disqualify a candidate. They can do that, because that power belongs to the Central Executive Committee.
But you see, you fell victim to the same. It happened then, it can happen again.
Well, by then when it happened, we are still using electoral college determining the flag bearers for members of parliament. That's when they attempted, even when they attempted to do that, when the people would go and hide people either in Tororo, others, it was alleged that they would even cross them across the border. But because the party took cognizance of that and they made a decision that in order to avoid this level of manipulation, let us have adult suffrage. And we see how somebody can really carry the entire population to go and hide it.
But now,
and that is no longer an issue amongst the elections where we have the adult suffrage election.
Honorable Ddombo, this exercise has exposed the dirt in NRM. I've seen senior leaders of the party, you know, quoted saying what some people, if some of them you hear in their own words, talking words that you think they could be better. And when washing your dirty linen in public, it's embarrassing. Definitely it is embarrassing. And if you read the NRM Constitution, it's because at times either SEC chooses to be lenient or the national leader, the national chairman also chooses to be lenient, because people are progressively learning how to behave and how to belong to groups and how group dynamics work and how you build groups. Because the NRM Constitution has got a code of conduct. In that code of conduct clearly shows what is prohibited and what is allowed. And when you listen to many leaders during these campaigns, some of them state words which are never shouldn't have been heard of. And when you look at the Central Executive Committee, this is the organ of the party which is going to be responsible for instilling discipline in the members of the party. It is going to be an example, and it is going to set the moral setting upon which the party is going to move. And that is why about 2 weeks ago the Secretary General had to invite members of the Central Executive Committee, the aspirants for the Central Executive Committee positions, to remind them their responsibility, the importance of the positions they are vying for, but also to read them the Riot Act. But you see, Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, even though Mr. Richard Tudong could try to call them an order, we are talking about senior members of the party, national leaders with offices of high repute. For them to lack that kind of decorum and discipline in their conduct for their campaigns is so regrettable and so embarrassing for the nation. What I know is that ever since the Secretary General invited them and reminded them their responsibility, the provisions of the law, and what is prohibited in the NRM Constitution, I haven't had again any leader, be it senior or lower, who has used insulting language. It has been a very smooth campaign ever since that we had that meeting. So I think they took heed of the position which the Secretary General took, and the position he reminded them of their civic responsibility and the desire for them to be an example to the rest of the members in the public. Do you find this time around that the campaign for these positions has been more, you know, fought over than any time before?
I think every time that passes, the escalation goes stronger, either because of the number of people who aspire for the positions or the seniority of the individuals who compete against one another. If you look at the voice of first Vice National Chairman, Alhaji Moses Chigongo, the other time had about 1 or 2 people who had divided. This time they were about 4 people, and all young, highly learned young people.
I know Dr. Emmanuel Din Kisembo, a young man from Kagadi, Kibale region.
And when they all presented their CVs, they were very excellent and very good leaders. And actually, I want to tell you, when I listened to the people who are vying, I was encouraged because we have very senior, very highly qualified young leaders in the national resistance movement. Many of them could be the only thing they lacked was the political party experience in running parties, if you compare it with the
It is interesting, Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, that in some of these positions you are able to see people of caliber with great probably leadership acumen, but when it comes to chairman, leadership of the party as a chairman, nobody even dares to compete.
Absolutely, because if it is a football team and you have the best scorer and you're looking for a scorer, would you want to remove a best scorer? On Saturday we have the Ugandan Cranes. Come and see those people who are going to be put there. There are positions that are deliberately going to be protected because somebody is a good penalty taker, somebody is a good defender, somebody is a good this. You look for your best. So if NRM will have the best and somebody has not offered to compete with him, would that be an offense?
Actually, I met a young man, not a young man, he's an old man, with all respect. He's a former, I think, retired captain in the army, Captain Ruhinda Maguru.
Ruhinda Maguru.
I met him in Imbarara a couple of weeks back, and he was telling me he's going to take on the chairman.
Ruhinda Maguru has consistently competed and they either vied or expressed interest, but along the way he somehow fizzles out. I am yet to find out from him what exactly happens. But for about 3 times, when I was still in Parliament, Ruhinda Maguru used to come up and offer himself, but you'd find out perhaps either the nomination fees or the wise counsel from the senior leaders or the ability from the peers and interaction. Because NRM is a party that either works on works using regulations, works using democracy, works using peer pressure, but also wise counsel from the senior leaders of the party on what the emerging leaders should do in order to succeed as very good leaders.
So now, you have not really exhibited discipline and fairness in the primaries. It's been shambolic, chaotic in some cases. In some cases, with all respect to Honorable Ddombo, somebody died, vehicles were banned, people were injured, and houses were attacked. In the process of you trying to elect flag bearers of your own party, if that can happen in an internal political party election, we get scared about what's going to happen in the general election.
A number of the things bordered on indiscipline, and some of them were just outright criminality. That is why the national chairman guided when he interacted with the party leaders and the police. He said anything that is criminal in the conduct of the elections, that one must be isolated. Something that is internal discipline of the party, that one we shall take on it politically. But somebody who broke the law, somebody who harmed the other, somebody who incited violence for benefit of an individual, the national chairman was very outright. And many people right now are behind bars. And we believe going forward, many people are going to be prosecuted.
You seem to be incapable of holding a free and fair election.
No, but individuals, let me tell you.
But when you look at the number of petitions that came out, almost every constituency somebody's petitioning.
Absolutely not. Actually, every time that passes, we get better and better. In the last elections, the other year.
This election, how many petitions
did you have? In the other year,
how many did you have?
In the other year, we had 1,600 petitions. And these recent elections, we have about 490 petitions. So when you compare 400,
these 490 petitions, it's almost like every constituency somebody's petitioning.
Almost, but some of them were consolidated. That's why they.
Yeah, but what does that say about the party discipline, the party cohesion, the belief in the structure that you have built? If almost everybody is not happy with the results.
Not everybody not being happy.
But you're talking about 400.
Because even in the other time, when you look at the flag bearers who went through, in many elections, that's why you have over 300 members of parliament who were elected. Those who had the flag, went through an election. When they went through the secret ballot, they still went through an election. I want to tell you, even these current petitioners, many members of the National Resistance Movement, perhaps all who have gotten flags, are going to end up being elected in parliament. That shows you that even when people petitioned, the election was credible, because you cannot refuse somebody. It's a right for somebody.
But also it depends, you have gotten a flag from which part of the country. It can be probably okay if you're in one part, but here in Kampala and other places, getting an NRM flag is not a done deal.
Absolutely.
You know that.
Because of the level of competition. But I want to tell you that progressively, NRM is becoming strong and better. Where people were trading on lies, NRM has come up to detox and demystify the lies, but also tell the people and explain why we hadn't performed well. They are doing well. Look at the streets in Kampala. Look at the roads that are being worked on in Kampala under the Kampala Metropolitan Project. We believe that by the time of the elections, the people who are going to be beneficiaries of these roads and projects that are taking place are definitely going to think twice before they can vote any other person other than NRM.
Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, hold on to your point, because you're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is the Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, Head of Communication and Publicity at the NRM Secretariat, or the NRM Party. You know, I want to bring to your attention a very clear example. And somebody has actually quickly sent this. Let me read it for you. He says, Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, for the case of Kyonjojo District, the NRM District Registrar declared two winners on the seat of District Woman MP, Honorable Spelanza at 10 a.m. and at 4 p.m. Honorable Faith. And after that, the parliamentary, of course, Honorable Spelanza went to petition. The tribunal confirmed that the second person was declared at 4 p.m. had been the winner. I don't know whether you have understood that. Or should I repeat for you? That the registrar declared two people at 10 a.m.
and 10 p.m.
and then 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
And then there was a petition, and then the person was declared later. It was confirmed that he had won. And of course, the registrar, who were involved in all types of irregularities of NRM malpractices, were arrested, and most of them are either out on bail or are still in custody. How are you going to solve something like this? In fact, they should even say the name of this guy. He's called the Kiza Richard Polite of Chamapuli. I'm sure you've heard of that story. The
determination of a flag bearer under the National Resistance Movement is a political contestation. The involvement of a criminal conduct by somebody falsifying or forging results, that is fraud, and somebody must be arrested and prosecuted. Because after people have conducted an election during the day, they have lined up. You have counted the results. Why should you? That's corruption.
So what I don't know if, for example, in that particular case where somebody was declared winner at 10 a.m. and at 4 p.m. another person is declared winner in the same constituency, the first was declared winner petitions, but then the NRM tribunal upholds the person who was declared last. In that case, the register should be left free.
Depending on what formed the basis for the tabulation of the results. Because what if somebody used the falsified declaration forms and somebody initially entered them thinking that they were right when they weren't. Now that one is the onus lies on the registrar to come up and explain the circumstances under which. But by the time the tribunal concedes to say what was actually done by the registrar in the subsequent pronouncement is right, then there must have been a basis upon which the registrar
let me give an example. It
tribunal.
was such a blunder in my view because I saw the declaration of results. Somebody who got less on the same paper, like Honorable Ddombo, you get 400 votes. Honorable Kamara, you get 600 votes. And then they declare Ddombo the winner on the same paper.
A lot of things.
And it was by the grace of God that people didn't kill themselves there.
Many registrars could have created so many problems for us. And this one is going to lead the party to do an internal review about the quality of people we employ as registrars. Because in many areas you saw on TV here, many registrars who could hardly construct a sentence in English. And there were people communicating and running an election of the magnitude that we are talking about. Some of the district registrars are not even senior 4.
So you are incapable as NRM of holding a free and fair and smooth internal elections?
Not just being incapable, but the dynamics that are required for us to run an absolutely free and fair elections perhaps do not exist. When you look at the quality of people that we use, in many districts, right now, in Kalamoja now you can celebrate. But at the time some of these people were appointed, UPE graduates had not yet reached senior 4. And in many areas you could look for a senior 4 graduate and you could not get them. So we used and improvised on the people who existed then. But right now what we asked Dr. Tango Doi is if we have senior 4 graduates who have benefited from UPE, people have gone up to university. Right now there is no sub-county or parish in the whole of Uganda. Why we don't have people who have completed senior 4? We have asked him that going forward, it may be necessary to review the quality of personnel that they use. Perhaps even in future, it may require deployment of district registrars when you are going for such an exercise to recruit very senior people from Kampala, from various areas, so that they can be deployed to go and manage the process of elections. So we have done our internal reviews and continue to do so. But also we look at the resource requirements. When you look at Jasi Byabakama's polling stations, Jasi Byabakama has about 38,000 polling stations. NRM, we have 72,000 polling stations. Even if you chose to deploy the whole of police to go and maintain the security at the polling stations, perhaps we don't have adequate policemen to maintain the security in order to prevent the likely violence that would have come. So all these are being considered. Some people have even proposed the possibility of merging polling stations or villages. All these would be considered subsequently, depending on the senior leaders of the party and the specialized organs of the party, what they will decide.
So when Ugandans look at the general election that we're going to get into, and they also remember what you have gone through as the party that is an incumbent party in power, we really wonder whether what Justice Byabakama is going to handle, whether it's going to be free and fair. Because if this is the dress rehearsal of what we're going to go into, then Ugandans should really get ready for something messy.
The two are not in any way related. Justice Byabakama has got highly qualified people who are going to man the elections, who are well facilitated, they have been trained, and the level of technology at their disposal for them to manage the collection, the dissemination, and the eventual tallying of results is not anywhere at the exposition of the members of the national.
Well, I'm not doubting Justice Byabakama's capacity, but I'm worried about the NRM members who have shown chaos there to export that chaos again into the general election.
No, how will they? Because the registrars who falsified the results, are they going to play any role in Byabakama's election?
Because this was not only about registrars.
No, not only registrars, but also people who are going to line up. And then you see
it's not registrars who burnt vehicles.
No,
it's not registrars who killed people.
Yeah, but why would the police be? Because the elections under Byabakama are going to be totally different. They are supposed to be regulated. They are supposed to be managed. And in order to prevent the NRM spillover of the indisciplined individuals in the NRM, that's why men are behind bars now. Now many people know that if in the NRM people, when you try to do manyanga, you get arrested and prosecuted. Many of them will fear doing the same in the main elections.
So now, the tribunal that has been handing over judgments, and for some they are yet to do that, are you convinced that members will accept the judgment of the tribunal? For example, in Rwemiyaga, at least we know that the Honorable Theodose Kikubo is not really convinced about the tribunal's final word.
I want to tell you that in the elections in Uganda, we have one biggest challenge. Is the civic education of the candidates themselves. You have a number of contenders going for elections, but each of them works for only one thing: winning an election. I don't know whether they were North Quarters. When I was in North Quarter many years ago, we used to say we either win
or they lose.
Or they lose. But there was no option of losing. So if this happens to any candidate, that we either win or they lose, and indeed results come that you have lost, there is a likelihood that you may react differently, you may react violently, or you may do things that are not civic enough, which may create problems for other people participating in the same election.
So if the Honorable Theodose Kikubo decides to ignore the judgment of the tribunal and gets back into the field to ask the people to give him a mandate once again in Rwemiyaga, you can be sure that that will be chaotic.
First of all, although the election tribunals were put as part of the justice system to create redress and reconciliation, we know that this is not a legal contestation. This is a political contestation, and we believe that there could be a political solution other than the decisions of the tribunal. In which case, therefore, I would encourage many members of the national resistance movement that let us talk to one another. The national chairman is going to set up a committee of eminent personalities who are going to go around in the various parts of the country, talking to the aggrieved members of the party so that they may reconsider their position, so that they may understand that there could have been problems, but you don't overcome them by running against the candidate of NRM, but you could understand what happened and postpone your victory perhaps to next time when we could have a better elections in the future. All these are possibilities. We don't want to preempt what is likely to come out, but we want to encourage members of the party to heed the national chairman's call, talk to one another, and seek a political reconciliation. NRM and the individuals will become strong and better other than choosing to run against the position of the party.
We have seen, Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, people contesting for power, people, especially in the primaries, when people are lining up, somebody is coming and practically giving money to individuals on camera. And sometimes they even switch lines because somebody has given them money. Really? This, and by the way, a senior member of the party was seen telling people that tomorrow let us converge at a playground. I'm going to buy waragi at a global scale. I mean, these are your colleagues.
Promising waragi there is a possibility that perhaps somebody may promise and not give it. So I will not delve unless I have seen somebody really give the waragi. In a political contestation, many people can even promise for a bridge where there is none, or where there is no river. So for that one, I'll leave it to those leaders whether really they gave waragi to their people and whether they think that is the best way to deal with the campaign. But for members of the public, I mean of government, or members of the NRM who are physically seen distributing money on polling day, that should have been a reason for cancellation of their candidature. I don't know what the Electoral Commission did and the tribunal recommended. I'm yet to look at the details, or whether somebody complained about those actions, because some of the things I've seen them on social media, but when you get to the petitions, perhaps nobody raised such a petition, and the tribunal is not at liberty to make a decision upon which nobody has petitioned.
You know, if there's a wrong thing that is happening, we have seen is we have to condemn it without even waiting for somebody to petition.
Yes, then that one, the decision will be at a different level.
But do you understand that your party is so fractured that the image was really destroyed by those acts? Because if in internal party contestation for power you can do that, then those who are going to contest against you in NUP, in UPC, in PFF, they will really get worried about the kind of people they're going to compete against.
First of all, the people who consume the outcome of our processes believe and know that the national resistance position, the NRM's position is not that one. That should have been a position of the individuals who are either bad-mannered, who are indisciplined, or who would rather use any means for purposes of getting elected. That's not the position of the party. The constitution is very clear, prohibited conduct, and I'm very sure the national chairman, like he guided the members of parliament when he met them in the NRM caucus, he said, let the tribunal finish its work, then we shall deal with some of these issues, because we don't want to deal with the matters in a manner which is maybe sub judice.
You know, I don't know whether that's really the case, because at least the chairman in a different fora is quoted saying, especially the corruption at around, especially for the people who were so close to him in the inner circle, people organizing individuals who want to see him, taking commissions of him so that the president can be seen. He actually said the system is dead.
You know,
in his own words, President Yoweri Museveni said the system is dead.
You know that President Museveni has been around for some time. There are some people who may want to exploit their longevity or working closer to the president, and his intelligence is supposed to sniff out information and give him.
Actually, it was his family member, his own daughter, who was able to blow the lead.
Then he must find out what the intelligence
But his words, the chairman of the party and the president
no, that shows
that the system is dead.
That shows you how concerned the national chairman is, and you saw what he has done, because some of those people have been arrested. Some of them have been put off their duties, and there have been new assignments. So the chairman is very concerned that some of the people that he works with could conduct themselves in such a manner that creates an embarrassment to his office. But when he comes out to say so himself, then you must know that one, he's concerned, two, he cares, not like the people in the media have been imagining, but also the stern warning he has taken, perhaps is going to be an example to those who may want to do it again.
So Emmanuel, if the system is dead, like you have said, so close to the fountain of honor, to the vanguard of excellence, people around him, then how is it like far away from him?
There are things that are working so well. There are things that we must double our efforts if we must deal with them. And one of the things is corruption. You know, corruption is very attractive to those fighting it and those practicing it. If you read today's papers, you should have seen what the district commissions are doing when they are issuing jobs to the Ugandans who have competed and read successfully. That over 50 billion has been sniffed from the Ugandans who will go out to look for jobs, compete if fairly, because these services were decentralized. Recently, you know, you heard what happened with the Ugandan payroll. And you know that senior police officers and other public servants are in Ruzira because of the corruption taking place in many places. So corruption is one of our biggest challenges still in government. Hopefully, working together and with good intelligence and good prosecution, we should be able to get over it. But it's something that is going to take two to tango. All of us must work together if we must fight corruption.
The president has put so many public institutions, another one from State House, to fight corruption. But it looks like the kind of money that is deployed in the institutions to fight corruption, probably even what they do, they're not doing enough to be able even to recover. I wonder what are they doing.
I need to know the quantification. I have taken time without hearing the report from, say, the anti-corruption report. What recoveries have they made? What arrests have they made? What prosecution has been made? Or what preventive measures they have put in place in order to ensure?
You would have known, but because it's not there, so there's nothing
next time I get their reports, which I haven't seen because we have been very busy with the elections in the NRM, I'll need to find out, because if I didn't look in today's New Vision, I wouldn't have known that actually, and when you read other papers like the Monitor, they have also been coming up with the information about the levels of corruption, but until you have time to read them, you may not know the nature, But even you go to the Parliament of Uganda and you hear what is happening under the Public Accounts Committee or the COSASE, or you read what happened in some agencies of government, it leaves a lot to be desired that we all must work together. And all of us must be committed, the judiciary, the police, the private sector, the individuals come and give evidence. Because however much the prosecutor is ready to prosecute, if the people with the information or who know what happened are not willing to come and testify, then the prosecution may not be as successful.
But I don't know how you're going to get success, because Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, the cancer of corruption was pointed out by the president when he came to power in 1986 with his 10-point program. I think it was point number 7 that talked about fighting corruption. 40 years later, it has only increased.
You know, God created human beings. If he wanted corruption not to be there, he could have said, let there be no corruption. But even the crucifixion, betrayal of Jesus Christ.
You're blaming it on God now?
No, I'm telling you that from the biblical days, human nature has been creative and evasive and creating ways on how they become corrupt. NRM did not exist then. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's so you cannot just blame this. NRM has a responsibility. President Museveni has a responsibility as the president of this country.
I'm only pointing out to you, Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, that when the president came to power in 1986, he had a 10-point program, the things he wanted to work on and put right. And that for 40 years, point number 7 has only become worse. I'm
telling you that if God could himself, he would have said, let there be no corruption, and there wouldn't be corruption. But he did not do it. Why? To the extent that his child, or his son, Jesus Christ, was betrayed because of corruption. So human nature is corrupt, and it will take all of us fighting together and supporting the efforts of government in order to overcome corruption.
You're still blaming it on God?
Human beings are a creation of God. Because do I know what is in your heart? Do I know what you ate yesterday? Do you know what I have received today?
You can tell us.
None of us knows. So, in order to fight that is in your heart, which nobody is seeing, and which you receive in silence, it requires two to tango, it requires investment in technology, investment in the investigation, encouragement of whistleblowers, and protection of whistleblowers, and also the people who prosecute and try these matters should also be above corruption.
So we should leave the fight against corruption for divine intervention, because these institutions, it's beyond them. It's supernatural. It's for God to.
I want to tell you that fighting corruption is not one person affair. It is a continuous process that takes a number of people involved in the fight of corruption. Even if you want to prosecute a corrupt person, you need evidence, you need to arrest that person, must take a credible statement, and the prosecutors must be prepared to do a good job. And even the person doing the judgment must be a cadre willing to do the right thing and beyond corruption themselves. Along the channel, if one of the areas is, one of the levels is corrupted, either the magistrate or the prosecutor or the police taking the statement or the people giving the evidence or the technology itself may be compromised, then we may not have successful prosecution.
I just want to turn to the launch of the campaign slogan, and I think the poster. I saw something to do with the protecting the gains.
Absolutely, yes.
And I'm thinking, couldn't you, because there are people who feel where we are is not really what we deserve. And yet you want to protect the status quo. We expected NRM to be as ambitious as possible, to take a giant leap and take us to another level, than settle for the status quo.
Did you read the giant leap in that slogan? That's the aspiration.
What is catchy as the 3 words?
Because
protecting the gains.
Because, you know, many people have either chosen to vulgarize the way they want to look at that theme because of the campaign, because it is a contestation, but it's a very, very beautiful slogan and theme that really should show you what you're supposed to do. A number of years ago, Honorable Jaberi Vidandisari, when he was the chairman of the election task force of the NRM, he told the people of Uganda a simple Luganda word. He asked, Olinake wekolede. Do you have something you have been working on? Look at this. Olinake wekolede. Just look at Bwana Kamara. If this structure wasn't here, where would you be working? So these gains must be protected. Look at the peace. Why would Uganda, that was the biggest exporter of refugees in the other countries, right now, this is the biggest destination for refugees in the whole of the world. Uganda is perhaps the second, or is almost becoming the first. What are people coming here to look for? They must be coming here to look for something that the Ugandans themselves must see and admire. When you look at FDI, foreign direct investments, Uganda is one of the leading in the region. People are running here to invest their money. When you look at the economy and the way the stability of the economy, stability of the currency, the growth of the economy, this is something that people must be proud about. When you look at the security, right now you go to the bus park. Buses are loading and traveling to all destinations in Uganda. This is something that wasn't there.
I hope you know that there's a serious human rights violation. Ask members of the National Unity Platform. Some of their members have actually even died. Others have disappeared. Others have been held incommunicado. So as far as rights are concerned, you may say we are developing, but if you develop, you know, sometimes even the economic outlook may look okay, but people's rights are being trumped upon by the state?
Bwana Kamara,
by the state?
I wanted you that states worldwide abuse rights. And the only way the people of Uganda or any government or any country can be shielded is by having a proactive leadership of the members of parliament.
So the state of Uganda is abusing rights because...
I want to tell you that there are people in the state of Uganda. Some of them are policemen, some of them are soldiers, some of them are prison warders who have been abusing individuals.
So the
president himself...
The state can be murderous.
The president himself has come out to acknowledge this. In the United States, you saw that soldier, that policeman who knelt on the neck of somebody and somebody died. This is a developed country. So the only thing that people must do is the continuous proactivity of the civil society, of the leaders who have been elected to represent the marginalized.
You know, you speak for the incumbent party and you say states all over the world abuse power.
I'm speaking for NRM, I have been in the parliament and I have witnessed this happen. And what I'm telling you is that it can only be for... There are individuals who have shot individuals dead. There are policemen who have killed the prison warders, who have killed the prisoners. There are policemen who have shot against their colleagues in the police. There are soldiers who have murdered, who have robbed Ugandans. And the only way they can be called to book is to ensure that, one, people complain to the police. Where the police has done nothing, the leaders should take up these matters with members of parliament or the Human Rights Commission or whichever organ of government is available. We need proactivity of the people with authority or those who have been elected.
What do you make?
What
do you make of the statements coming from the highest positions of some positions of leadership would say, I have so and so, he's being tortured. You show us the pictures of how somebody has been tortured and they are working on him. You arrogantly tell the world they can do this.
What are the members of parliament doing? That's the only institution that has the morality, has got the law, has got the resources. By the time the constitutional framers chose to say, Parliament shall have the powers to summon, powers of the court, is there any other institution with those powers?
Haven't you seen that Parliament? Strangers coming into it and punching members of Parliament to pulp on camera?
Then they have to explain.
Haven't you seen that?
They have to explain as members of Parliament. Are they still worthy to be called a Parliament?
Haven't you seen strangers coming in Parliament, punching members of Parliament to pulp on camera?
That matter has gone to court.
So is that kind of...
But as members of Parliament, you know, for this civic space, people must fight for it. Parliament must fight for its space to do its work. Nobody will fight for them. When I was in Parliament, that's what we used to do. So members of Parliament must look internally and find out if they have any challenges that prevent them to do work. And once they see that there are areas that they need to overcome, they could negotiate about it, they could discuss with the authorities about it, they can call those responsible, they can use whatever means that they have to ensure that they have space in order to represent the people of Uganda. Because beyond them, then there is nobody who will do it.
Actually, you just talked about refugees, that Uganda is being lauded across the world because of our policy on refugees, which I think is good. But does that also mean that's the reason why the government of Uganda, I understand, have agreed with the United States to bring in those who have been rejected to enter the United States to come to Uganda?
Of recent, I've been seeing some new diplomacy being practiced by the United States government. I'm yet to understand the meaning and the implications, because a number of African countries have been required to enter into agreement, either to prevent being taxed a lot of money in order to trade with the United States of America, or in order to allow its soil to be utilized, or else they will not be given opportunity for visa access to the United States of America. I'm not familiar with the discussion that has happened. I've seen some headlines in the newspapers. If it is something that the people of Uganda need to explain, you must invite here the Minister for Foreign Affairs, so that he can come and explain to the people of Uganda what exactly the government of Uganda has negotiated with the United States of America, what is its implications. Or the members of Parliament should ask the Minister for Foreign Affairs to go to Parliament and explain to them what exactly is happening, because they are our representatives.
Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, hold on to your point, because you're going to take a break on the spot. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, Head of Communications and Publicity at the NRM Secretariat. And now I just want to know, you've had trouble with the primaries. You're still now having a meeting that is going on that started yesterday. It's still on, and perhaps will even end tomorrow at the Central Executive Committee. But then you have a big one, the Delegates Conference.
Absolutely.
How prepared are you for the Delegates Conference? Where are you going to hold it, by the way? Back in the day, you'd take it to Nambole.
Part of the Central Executive Committee proceedings taking place is basically in preparation for the National Conference, which is going to be from the 27th to the 28th of this month.
Which is next week.
Which is next week. And I want to tell you that I want to invite you to Colorado tomorrow, so that you see the preparations, how far we have gone. Tomorrow the guests are arriving. The Central Executive Committee members have arrived and have already been accredited, and they'll be here until the end of the conference.
Well, I'm told some of them have been taken on a ride as far as Arusha and Zanzibar.
The next,
by those with deep pockets.
The next team of delegates is for the National Executive Council, who are arriving tomorrow for accreditation. And our accreditation center is going to be in Nakawa, that post office building, as we used to call it. Now it is called Oba ICT Center. That belongs under the Minister of ICT. That's the area that we have been designated for the accreditation. Both of the members of the National Executive Council.
Why don't you use purely private facilities to do your partisan politics? Why are you using public institutions?
We use both public and private, but we pay, because all those facilities have a cost. But what we do is, not many people have facilities as big as Kololo here, because either we use Nambole and we pay, but right now Nambole has got a football match taking place, and perhaps it has new regulations in the preparation for the AFCON match, which will be in about 2 years to come. So we could not access Nambole, yet we had to do a delegates conference of about 50,000 delegates. So the only facility that is available in Kampala is Kololo, which we have duly applied for and paid for in order to use it. And so we could use private facilities, because the delegates are not going to sleep in schools and private people and in public schools and universities. They are going to stay in hostels, private homes and hotels around Kampala and lodges. So we use both public and private facilities depending on the size, the convenience, and the ability for us to pay to use those facilities. So the National Executive Council accreditation starts tomorrow, and the meeting will take place on the 23rd. And that meeting is going to consider the decisions that are going to come from the Central Executive Committee, which sits today. And the accreditation for the National Conference will begin on the 26th. But we also have the meetings of the special interest groups, which is going to follow suit immediately after the National Executive Council. Members of the special interest groups are also going to arrive the following day, and the accreditation is going to take place in Nakawa, and they are going to elect their leaders. The leaders who are going to be elected from the National Executive, from the special interest groups, are going to graduate into the National Delegates Conference, and the other members of the SIGs are going to go back after they finish the meetings of the SIGs. So we hope that at the end of the National Delegates Conference, there are things that are specifically going to happen. The first one, we are going to receive the Secretary General's report about how the party has performed over the years since the National Delegates Conference last met. Then secondly, we are going to receive the report of the President and National Chairman of the party of what has transpired in the party and what are the issues that the party has been dealing with. He will talk about the performance of the manifesto, because since he's going to be formally unveiled as a candidate, we are also going to look at, most likely, the issues that are going to appear in the next elections manifesto, which is going to be launched perhaps in a month's time, soon after the nomination has been done.
Of course, by now you must be almost done with your manifesto.
Absolutely, we're almost done, but I'm not at liberty to begin discussing what is in the manifesto until we have a candidate, and until the candidate launches the manifesto, then we can take it to the public for discussion.
So people who are vying for different positions will also put their case before the delegates, and then how are the elections going to be done? Is it lining or ballot?
Yes, the special interest groups are going to elect chairman. For instance, the women are going to elect their chairperson. When the women elect their chairperson, the chairperson will become automatically a member of the Central Executive Committee. Yes. And the members of the executive of the women will become members of the National Conference. They will graduate to the National Conference, and the elections is going to be by lining up, because that's what our rules and regulations say, that in order to cut costs and for convenience and transparency, people are going to line up in public. So if you have been accredited, I don't know whether you have been accredited.
I know.
If you haven't, then we can talk about it after this.
As who? As a journalist?
As a journalist, so that you can come and cover, so that you can tell the public what is happening. You may even want to do a live broadcast.
And our boys will be there. We also have foot soldiers. They'll be doing their work.
The foot soldiers will be there.
They're always there.
And we are very proud of the various media houses for what you have done in service of the public, in order giving them adequate, timely, and correct information about the things that are happening.
So, but there's a possibility, if you're going to use, we've talked about this, but we can talk about this again. If you're going to use the business of lining up, there's a possibility that one delegate and one contender can take away the special interest group members and then just bring them right at the moment when they're going to vote, and that will be it.
There is that possibility, but also Ugandans are clever people. They have met a number of delegates, and that's where at times they have become tricky, because the same delegates have met different people who have been contending for these positions, and they have perhaps been facilitated to come to those meetings with the hope that when the time comes for elections, those people could be looked at favorably. Most likely, there are many people who may fear the lining up and choose not to participate. In the elections, that there is likely to be delegates who may behave like that. But for us, we chose as a party that we shall use lining up as a method of the elections. If during the conduct of those elections there is credible evidence and some prohibited conduct which has been demonstrated, the Central Executive Committee is still sitting and somebody brings it to their attention, then they will do it. But other than that, every member who is contesting for any position will have the delegates in Kololo, they will talk to them and they will ask for votes. There is a possibility that somebody may facilitate delegates or may even attempt to hide them. But when it comes to the time of voting, the people will demonstrate their right and democracy, and many people may be surprised by the outcome of the elections.
Before we conclude, I want to ask you about the people who have shown interest to run for the highest office in the land. An unprecedented number of over 180 people have so far picked the nomination forms. What do you make of that?
The national resistance movement anticipated it because democracy has been made cheaper and people to look every Tom, Dick and Harry to aspire for any position. Everybody can call for an election. As long as they have the qualifications, they'll come and pick the papers, as long as the picking of the papers is free. That is why under the NRM, in order to come qualified to come and pick the papers, you have to demonstrate seriousness by paying the nomination fees. And because of that, we've had very few individuals coming to pick papers.
You think that should be changed? Because
that is something that the independent...
Do you think that should be changed? Not everybody wants to have a go at Uganda?
The Independent Electoral Commission may choose to copy from the NRM and say in future, if the nomination fees is 50 million, that in order to demonstrate seriousness, you must deposit it first, come with the slips in order to pick the forms. That number will drastically go down.
Honorable Emmanuel Ddombo, I want to thank you so much for the time you've given us, for the value you have added, information and all your submissions. What's going to be your concluding remark on the show tonight?
I want to welcome everybody, especially members of the NRM who qualified to come for the meetings, special interest groups, National Executive Council and the Delegates Conference. But as we conclude, I want to congratulate the members, the football fans and the team, the Ugandan Cranes. We have qualified for the quarterfinals for the first time in the life history of the CHAN. Now that we have qualified, I want to call on all Ugandans of goodwill who have accessed and bought the tickets, or those who haven't still, to come to Nambole on Saturday. Come and we support the Ugandan Cranes so that together we can build a country. The unity that is demonstrated in Nambole amongst the fans themselves, many of them, some of them are National Inter-Platform, others are FDC, others are PFF, others are National Resistance Movement, Democratic Party, UPC. But the patriotism that is demonstrated during the games, let us demonstrate it the way we relate.
And unfortunately, somebody has put a rule that Ugandans who are buying the national football jersey T-shirts and putting their words at the back, whatever they wanted to put, that they should not stop it. I think that's going to kill the vibe. You should let Ugandans write whatever they want to write behind the backs of their T-shirts.
Somebody who has put the rules.
I read it somewhere that they shouldn't allow Ugandans to express themselves on their T-shirts. I wonder why would you do something like that?
I don't know. If somebody picks his man and buys a T-shirt which is not
read something he wants to read at the back,
given, but I saw.
Please don't kill the Ugandan vibe.
Don't kill the vibe. Last time I was in Nambole and I really saw interesting statements.
Yeah.
I don't know whether those people who wrote them meant what they wrote. But even me, I bought a T-shirt and wrote my own things. So you could be in trouble if you wrote your own thing. I want to thank you so much, Honorable. I'm not a player, but one of the T-shirts I put my name. Okay. So should I remove it?
Something like Bonyole United. Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Ddombo. And for you, the viewer, I want to thank you for the privilege of your company. Good night and God bless Uganda.